I'm your host, Megan Wolf.
And I'm Allison Snow.
Today we're going to talk about a controversial topic, Title IX. Title IX is an Education Amendment Act passed in 1972. It requires federally funded schools to give females the same opportunities in education and sports as males.
We also have an exclusive interview with Ms. Herman and a look at a Hill-Murray book from 1984 compared to the current one, and some other facts that involve gender inequality in Minnesota and other places around the world.
Gender inequality is an unfair treatment of girls and boys in athletics and education. But today we are going to mostly focus on the athletics part.
Now let's look at some important women's sports. Weren't those some amazing women's sports?
Absolutely. Now we're going to talk about women in the Olympics.
Some women sports during college and high school were underappreciated. During the Olympics, those sports became a lot more appreciated. For example, normally skiing and swimming aren't very popular sports, but in the Olympics, popularity grows just as much as it does for men. Women haven't been able to play in the Olympics since the 1900s.
The first women in the Olympics competed in Paris and did sports like tennis, sailing, croquet, and golf. It wasn't until 2012 that women played in the same sports as men. The United States and other countries wouldn't have had the amazing women athletes they did today if it weren't for Title IX.
Wow, wasn't that some good information?
Yes, it was.
Up next, we have Laura Kennedy and Paige Stevens, who are going to talk about Naomi Fritzton.
Hi, I'm Paige Stevens.
And I'm Lauren Kennedy, and we are here in Nebraska.
Naomi Fritzton was a wonderful lady who worked very hard to help women's athletics rights starting in March 1992, when she realized that girls playing sports wasn't unladylike like some people would say. Naomi also realized and even said that whether outright or subconsciously, these girls are going through the midden system treated and feeling like second-class citizens, which is not okay at all. She used 3 examples as evidence for her so-called theory. The first example is the pep band almost never played at the girls' games and constantly played at the boys' games. The second example is the boys got a giant gym while the girls got a small one. And the third was the boys got to play on weekends and the girls had to play during weekdays.
resulting in less people coming to the games and having to squeeze more time in for their homework.
Naomi Fritzen wrote many letters to the school and to the government saying how problems needed to be fixed, but sadly that got her pretty much nowhere. So she took her daughter to school to court after she realized that girls' sports were being treated badly. In April 1995, she realized that Title IX was on her side and the court case was won.
This made it so that girls' sports would have equal funding and opportunities and equipment. And she herself was given the money as a compensation for all the stress she had gone through.
Thanks, Lauren and Paige. She seems like one nice lady.
Now let's go over to a recording explaining and talking about 5 different examples of gender inequality all around the world, not just in athletics.
The first example is professional obstacles. Women have been fighting to have the same type of work as men for many years, and they still have a long fight ahead of them. According to the United States Census recent information, women only earn 77% of what men earn for the same amount of work. It isn't just a gender wage difference. The leadership positions to men are always given to men. Women have children, usually stay at home to take care of them, penalizing them because they can't work and they aren't able to get a promotion.
Our next example is feticide and infanticide. In some countries like China and India, a male child is more valuable than a female child. Because of genetic testing, parents can find out what gender the child is and they may end a pregnancy of a female child. Because of so many pregnancies being ended, in some countries there are 927 girls per 1,000 boys.
Our third example is feminization of poverty. In some countries, women are not allowed to own land or work. More than 1.5 billion people live on less than $1 a day. Most of these people are women. Land is a major factor for securing credits from financial associations, which means that women can apply for loans that would help their family or expand her business.
Our fourth example is access to health care. In less developed countries, more than 500,000 deaths occur every year during childbirth. If women received the same health care in those less developed countries as men, the amounts of deaths in childbirth would decrease dramatically.
Our last and final topic is education attainment. Most of the children that aren't in schools are girls, not boys. If you split all the world's illiterate adults into 3 groups, 2/3 of them are women. Most women would and do stay home to take care of the house and kids, and most of the money put towards education is given to the men or boys in the family. It is proven that girls who complete school are more likely to marry at a good age and have smaller families and also better health. And those women that are educated are more likely to make sure their daughters and sons have equal education. I can't believe that all those things are happening around in the world right now.
I know, it's almost scary to think about. It doesn't seem like it is even possible for stuff like that to be going on around the world and all around us.
Yep, it seems impossible.
Now we are going back to Paige again, who is going to talk about gender inequalities in some professional sports.
I have noticed that women make far less money in some professional sports than men, like the Minnesota Lynx. They are a great team that is skilled and are elite athletes, but the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are not as successful and skilled, yet they make way more money than the Minnesota Lynx. Speaking of gender inequality, there isn't even a women's professional hockey team. What's up with that? Now back to you, Megan.
Thanks for that information, Paige.
Let's now go to Sophia Busalis, who is going to compare Hill Murray's yearbook from 1984 to the current one now.
Hi, I'm Sophia Busalis, and I'm here to compare 2 of Hill Murray's yearbooks. When I was comparing Hill Murray's yearbook from 1984 to the current one, I noticed that Hill Murray's inequality for girls was not as bad compared to what those of other schools had and did too in the past. But Hill Murray still had some things that most schools had. For example, at Hill Murray, the girls had a small gym while the boys had a big field house. I also saw that Hill Murray sports were pretty equal, but not completely. I saw that the girls were able to play lots of the same sports as boys, which were soccer, basketball, skiing, and cross country, golf, and track. They were also able to play sports that boys didn't even play, which were volleyball and tennis. But the girls didn't have a wrestling team, hockey team, or cross country team, even though the boys did. And this is the boys' hockey team, and as you can see, they had 2 whole pages when the girls didn't even have a hockey team.
I can't believe that girls at one point were treated that unequal in athletics.
I can't believe it either. I wish that we could find out more about the inequalities in athletics that women had.
Well, we will find out more with a few clips of the interview that Sophia Bousalis and Lauren Kennedy had with Miss Herman next.
And it really depended on what school you went to. I mean, if the school administration was committed to equality, then they made sure there were enough sports, you know. But if they weren't, then there was an imbalance. Most places, the administrators tried to make sure that there were, I mean, when I played, I had the ability to play whatever sport I wanted to play. I played tennis, and I played volleyball, and I played basketball, and golf. The only thing that we didn't have at my high school was softball. So I think it's probably more attitude-wise with people outside of schools, that there were a lot of people that thought girls shouldn't participate in sports. It just wasn't a thing that girls were supposed to do, you know. Girls were supposed to be moms and nurses and secretaries and teachers. There were certain things that girls were supposed to do, and sports wasn't one of them. And over the course of time, you know, did you do some studying about what Title IX was?
Yeah.
Okay, so Title IX was 1972, right?
Yes.
Okay, so when I was in high school, I started in high school in 1975 or 76, I don't remember which, but so the sports were there, and I was lucky enough that there was an athletic director that put as much money into girls' sports as they did into boys. I know in some places they didn't. The girls always got the worst practice times, and they didn't get the best equipment, and they had volunteer coaches instead of paid coaches. But like I said, depending on what school you went to, that wasn't the case. You know, like here now, the same amount of money, like if you take 2 sports that are the same, like both the basketball, the school puts the same amount of resources into boys basketball and girls basketball. It's equal. Soccer, tennis, golf, anything that they're the same, baseball, softball.
So all in all, Title IX was one of the best things to happen to girls' sports.
All of a sudden, after the fight for girls' athletic rights,
Girls were finally able to play sports with as much support, financially and mentally.
Thanks to Princeton and everybody who fought for this equality for girls.
And thanks for watching Fox and Friends, and tune in next time for our debate on girls' uniform policy.